Did you have music every day, do you think?
I don't think we did. I don't think we did. I can't remember of it being every day. Maybe the music teacher, maybe it was once a week she come. Maybe she come to all the different classes and had a, I don't know.
Did they have art teachers too, separate?
I never had anything on the art. They might have had it. We didn't have much on the art.
When you got to high school, did you have
I don't
shop
remember
and
even,
all that
I had
stuff?
shop. We had shop, but I don't know. The first art teacher was, that came back and taught a little art, I think was Bill Ingleson come back and taught a little bit.
Oh, did he?
And I think he taught art. Art who, you know.
Yeah. He's another person I'd like to interview.
Yeah. And, yeah, I don't remember that about the art. But when I got in junior high and that, then you started going into shop and physics and chemistry.
Did they have band at that time?
The band, I wasn't in on the band. I never was too interested in the band. Now I know my brother and the.
But was there one?
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
started bands. They had bands because we had real good bands back in the late '40s. The Stansel came, and he was good. They had a problem then with the teachers or something in millage, and they had to stop the band or something. But they had real good bands, and we had probably one of the best bands around. I always thought in high school we had a good one. And yeah, we had my brother and my cousin Doug. They joined the band about in the 8th grade, and they were blowing. Of course, you have to be into the cornets, you know, the something that's cool, I guess.
Sure.
And they they're trumpets and cornets, see, and so they took that. And this teacher they had was Glover, I think, was teaching the band even. He was a superintendent even at that time. Glover, I think his name was. And they went to the band, and they were in there and went through everything. And finally, after about 6 weeks, they got they were, they had to do a solo. And they couldn't even blow the darn thing. That was the end of them. Whoop, out of the band. Jerry, yeah. Jerry and Doug, we let him laugh, you know. You'd have to have him tell the story. I mean, Jerry, you know, he could tell the story and it would really be funny. Because they couldn't play nothing. That was the end of them. I never had any. We had maybe, what the hell, bazookas or something you played in the grade schools or something. You went through something like that.
We were busy hunting and fishing and that's.
Yeah, but we didn't, but we didn't.
Did you have music in your home? Did your folks have a phone group player?
No, we just, radio, you know, we listened to the radio all the time,
We
that's
did
right.
too.
I grew up just the radio.
Ears glued to the radio.
Yeah, we listened to all the great, growing up, that was, all them shows. We'd come home from school and you listen to all them ones, the Lone Ranger and, Deadeye somebody, and, I mean, they had a bunch of them going to
Yukon.
Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy, and, Campton Midnight, and, all them serials, you'd listen to them.
Sure.
And they must have been, I don't think they were a half hour. They might have been, maybe 15 minutes for each one or something. I can't,
And tell again about Kate Smith.
oh, and every noon hour I'd come home to eat, and it was always, get home right about at noon, and it was always, the announcer would always say, and that guy that was with her so long, I can't think of his name, he would say, well, it's high noon in New York, and it's time for Kate Smith. And she'd say, God bless America. You know, that was, I never forgot that. She always ended with that, too.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And they would give them a little news report or something,
It
and
was wonderful.
it was
She
high
said.
noon in New York and time for Kate Smith.
Yeah,
Probably it was WJR.
probably.
We were getting out of Detroit.
Mhm.
And I imagine that's what most everybody listened to here at that time. Yeah, you didn't have no TVs, of course. They didn't come in until I don't know when.
About 54.
I said it was a long time. Uncle Red had one, and
It was one of the few.
yeah, that had a TV. You seen them in the bars, and they'd have all that fighting on and stuff.
So you had one when, after you were married for a while, before you had one?
1956, we got our first one that Eddie's mother gave to us. It was a black and white.
Oh,
of
yeah,
course.
black and white. Yeah,
We were married 3 years old before we got it.
Mhm.
we had a radio we listened to, even then, and it was going to TV. Joan, can you shut that dog up?
I don't know how.
Take him out this here, take him out this here ear.
Does he wanna come in?
Yeah, but he'd be all over you.
Oh, you won't bother me, let me fit in.
In fact, when Janny was a baby and she was born in 53, we would go down to Grandma Murphy's because Harold had a nice big TV. We'd go down there and watch. That's the first time we saw Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, next year you will never
I never
know who
hear
he
it.
was."
Well, we had a TV when Elvis was going, cause I think, cause I,
He went for a long time, yes, we did.
yeah,
Yeah.
But that's the first time we saw Elvis.
but I says, you never hear of that guy. You know, that's,
You were wrong on that one, Eddie.
Jesus, I usually was right. I used to be able to pick out them songs when they were gonna be hits. I'd say, oh, that's gonna
Uh-huh.
be,
That hit
That's gonna
parade
be a
used to
hit,
so
you know.
good.
you wanted to drink. But he'll be in here.
Did you, then did you go to college at all?
No, I had no desire to go to college. I never even thought about it. And at the time, I was, the Korean War was coming, and there was, most of the guys were all going into service, and I was pre-inducted then in going to the Korean War. But I got married, and we were going to have a baby, and the war ended, and they didn't want no fathers, and so they reclassified me. And so I never got, I was the only boy that didn't get, and our other boy, the brothers. Jerry went in the Navy, Bob was in the Army, and Pat were in the Army,
Oh,
and drafted.
uh-huh.
And Jerry volunteered in the Navy. I sat down here. He just loves people. And if you don't pull our plug,
No, you didn't go yet. You still have red lights going.
yeah, well, he's,
Um,
so I didn't have
had
to.
your father been in?
No, my
No,
dad
he
was the
would've
same
missed it
way.
too.
He missed Second World
Yeah.
War because of having, his age was, they were taking guys close to his age
Uh-huh.
at that time when that was going on, but he had 3 or 4 kids and probably the 3 boys.
Did Harold go?
Harold wasn't in either. Harold probably couldn't because he had a bad heart, so.
Do you remember when the boys came back from World War II or any of that? I don't remember that.
I do.
Do you?
I don't know.
Of
That's
course,
Joni.
we heard it on the radio
Uh-huh.
and in the newspapers. And I can remember being a little kid. Oh, it stopped.
No, it's on.
No,
Okay.
We're still going.
And I can remember my mother telling me that the war was over and we were all jumping up and down, screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
Because my sister's husband was in the service in Guam,
Mhm.
and another brother-in-law in the Navy. And so that meant something to us.
Well,
you know.
sure.
yeah, when the Second World War ended, yeah, it meant
It
to
was a big
everybody.
deal,
Oh,
a real big deal.
every family.
Oh,
Yeah, we grew up, you know, I can remember when the news things, all you got was on the radio and like at the theater, you'd see the newsreels about what was going on, show war
And
pictures.
we went to the show 3 times
Yeah.
a week.
Oh, yes, tell us about the show.
Yeah, I went all
We
through,
almost missed that, couldn't
We
we?
need to sneak it in.
all through growing up that my Uncle Red, he always had our show money for Jerry and Bob and I don't know if it still went on
Yeah,
for the girls and did it.
Pat got it, yeah.
Okay, but
Pat
it,
told me.
it always went on. He always had a little pile there on the buffet. And as you got older, you got a bigger pile because it cost more to get in. And it was only, I don't know, 12 cents or something at one time. It wasn't very much to get in. You got like a quarter or 30 cents a piece.
But you could buy candy and.
Yeah, they had candy. We didn't have drinks at ours, but we had popcorn and candy. And back in, we must have been around 12, 13. We got sneaking in all the time. And my brother Jerry, he had the record. I don't know how many he snuck in a row, like 16 or something.
Oh, gee.
I mean, he had a lot. If they caught you, you just, if you're sneaking in and they caught you, oh yeah, I guess I gotta get over here. Look at, they didn't say nothing, but
Uh-huh.
You just went, jumped in the popcorn line, or you went in with a whole bunch, and they, they sold you the ticket, and then he tore it in half right there and put it in a basket right in there, right beside where he sold it to you, right in the little booth.
Yeah, they still do that.
Yeah, instead of, they didn't have nobody to give it to, see. So, yeah.
And you went to the movie a lot?
Yeah, about, it changed 3 times a week. They had 3 different shows. And, so we went, we had them little piles, and usually we went every time. And they were all, you didn't have to worry about the shows.
For sure.
I mean, like nowadays, you know, they were no X or R's, or, you know, they were all for everybody.
Cowboy shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All the Gene Autry and
Yeah, here, Joni,
Right.
give him that thing over there. Maybe he'll come over here and chew it.
I don't think they want to have a tape in.
Here. Get over here. Here. Come on, Lucky. I'll sit down and chew that. Go on. And what I can remember before, they didn't have a theater. And they used to have a show in the summer on the side of the school, and all everybody would go over there and sit in the grass. They put up some kind of a sheet, or they just showed it on the wall.
You're kidding.
No.
They projected it on the outside of the
Projected
building?
it outside. It was outside, and I remember seeing 2 or 3 of them movies that one summer. Now, I don't know if that was somebody testing the area to build a theater, or if it was a local thing. You didn't pay nothing. You know, you just went like on Saturday
that's
night
neat.
or Friday night, they had that. Like
Yeah,
they
I
have
never
a,
heard of that.
yeah, we had that one year. I can remember that one year because I seen some movie. It was some Western where the bad guys were in a mountain that closed up. I remember it was more like a Buck Rogers deal, but it was with horses. You know, like a Roy Rogers or somebody, but it was,
Hopalong Cassidy.
well, I always seen all of them in the theater, but no, I don't remember exactly what this show was that we seen outside. I don't know, it might have even been continued.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that we come back and seen more.
For heaven's
There must be somebody that can remember who did that around, but I can't.
We'll have to ask. I've
Maybe I
heard of
never
that.
thought to ask Dwayne or somebody too about it that was around, but it'd be like having them pre-concerts now, see?
Yeah.
And only, they had the movie, and it was on the side of the school. It was over there. Of course, this whole other part wasn't there, you know, the gym and all that was on the, which is the craft center now.
But it was in the summer, so it had to be.
It was
kind
in the
of-
summer.
Kind of late at night.
Because when we first, well, it'd have to be dark, but they probably didn't change time either.
Oh, that's true.
So it got dark a little bit earlier, and in the summer, nobody had to go to school, so the kids could be up, and if it was just on a Friday or Saturday, they did it.
Plus you live right behind.
Yeah, I live real close, so I live real close to right downtown, so we were,
Do you remember the tourists coming in the summer, was that?
oh, yeah, they come and, they ran the Timberliner came up through, that was a train, you know, that came up on Friday and went back on Sunday. They ran that a few years, but I guess that didn't pay. That was.
Did you have summer jobs?
Yeah, usually, I worked in the A&P, and I got up in, probably the 7th grade or 8th grade or a freshman or so. I worked in A&P every summer. I worked there. And-
Paper routes.
oh, them were younger days. I had paper routes.
Or didn't the dog chase you?
Oh, I had lots of dogs. Man.
Didn't somebody accuse you of window peeking?
Well, that wasn't. They thought it was us, but it wasn't us. And I heard the story, and Jerry went and got to the bottom of it, and I didn't pay any attention to it. But it said it was Jerry and I, and it wasn't Jerry, and he was awful upset.
Uh-huh.
He went to the people, you know, when he heard that story.
Mhm.
And then we figured out who it was in later years.
Mm-hmm.
They said they must have said, "Are you the Murphy boys?" And they said, "Yeah."
Well,
You know, Jesus, we were guilty as hell. But it wasn't. And I know Jerry jumped me and asked me if I was caught window peeking. I said something smart anyway. And, no, but that wouldn't be a bad idea or something.
uh-huh.
And, oh, Jesus, he was mad when I said that. But I was honest to him. I said, no, we didn't.
Tell me about the time Jerry threw the ball at you and knocked you out for 2 days.
Well, that was just playing catch, and I was catching without, a kid was batting. I didn't have a mask on, but I was way behind. He was throwing a hardball, and the kid was missing it by that much. Finally, he ticked it. Came back like a bullet, hit me right here. You know, I had to have stitches in my lip, and of course I had a concussion. Because I don't remember nothing. They didn't have to freeze me or nothing. You know,
Wake up till the next day.
the next day, and what the heck's wrong here? And I said, what the heck, I had stitches or something. I couldn't even remember. I did remember then that it was Dr. Hammond that
Sold
sold
you
me up, and he couldn't hardly see it. At that time, he was having all kinds of eye trouble. And he had a big,
Magnifying.
yeah, he watched it do things.
How old were you?
Oh, gee, I was probably about 12 or so, maybe 11 or 12. I was down there where I told you, in the courthouse field. That's where we were, down in that area playing, and we were going to the show. So it was in the evening, in the spring, probably like this time of year. And Jerry says, well, let me strike him out one more time. And so I think he had 2 strikes on. He threw that next one, he just barely ticked it. Then Jerry says, you better go home, Ed. The blood was just running down me. But I didn't even remember. You know, I was knocked out on my feet. And so they took me home, and Ma took me down to the doctor. Sold me up.
What do you remember about the doctors? Did you go, you probably didn't go much.
Well, we mostly went to Dr. Marzolka. He was our family doctor at the time. Dr. Hammond was here first, and then Dr. Hammond was my doctor when I was born.
Oh, he delivered.
And then my mother had the next baby, and then the baby got that fever. And so, you know, the doctor had said about the babies can't catch it, they don't catch it. And the baby caught it, whatever she had.
Died.
And we always felt, talking to people, that she had more than just a fever. She had typhoid or something. You know, she had something bad. And so we started going to Dr. Marzolka, so we always went to Dr. Marzolka. But I don't remember going a lot. I had my tonsils out, and he did it in Grayling. And but I didn't go a lot. I got a fish hook up once, and my finger caught, and we couldn't get it out. And no doctor in town.
This is funny.
And Dean McWilliams and I, we were at a place that was before season even, and I threw a big sinker out, and it just buried that little hook right in mine. I couldn't get it out. You know, usually you could get them out. And it was a little hook. And we went to Dr. Marzolka's, and we went to Dr. Hammond's, and neither one were there. It was probably a Sunday, see. They were gone.
Is that the time you went to Doc Kelsey?
Yeah, and I ended up going to Doc Kelsey, who was just
Chiropractor.
yeah, and he didn't want to do it. He said, well, you wait around. I said, oh, Jesus, you know, and my finger was getting, so finally, we went back and forth to the doctors, and nobody showed. He's, come in, we'll try to get it out of there.
And didn't your grandma come along and say?
That was after.
Oh.
Doc was taking me home, and then their grandma was. And he said something about she says, well, why didn't you go to a doctor?
She said that in front of Doc Kelsey?
Yeah. But he was a doctor, but I said, well, I couldn't find one. But he knew that because he sent us to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he understood. It was funny afterwards.
Yeah.
But Dr. Kelsey knew him because he didn't want to do it. He kept sending us
Sure.
back and forth. Because you couldn't push it through to cut it off.
Yeah.
Such the barb. It was such a little hook.
So
I
you
never
had to cut
used
your
it.
finger open to get it out?
So he had to, well, they just pried and pried and pried, and it hurt because he gave me some kind of stuff on it to freeze it, but I remember it hurt. But he got it. I think he ended up pulling it back out, you know, from the barb and all. I don't think it ever did go, because it was
Oh.
such a little
Yeah.
hook. I mean, it was a little teeny one. I don't know why. I never used them anyway. I don't know why, but we were violating, just throwing there and catching suckers or trying to catch
Sure.
like a day like today,
Just
down on the
having
river.
fun, Sure.
Yeah, so Doc Kelsey ended up pulling it. My grandma says, why didn't you go to a doctor? And Doc Kelsey was a good friend of Harold's. They had fished or went up north. They went you know, everybody knew everybody in town.
Now, did you go up to the UP where your grandma was from?
No.
Very often, your grandma Murphy? Did
But
they-
Grandma Preston,
Yeah, the one that was married, yeah, her
Yeah.
maiden name was Preston.
no, they were,
They didn't go back up there.
no, they really
Because
weren't.
the family came down, the whole family.
The whole family ended up here. I mean, he was there as a family and my mother was born there, but they really came from Wisconsin.
Oh.
See, they came over, you know, like my grandpa and them come from Canada, you know, wonder how these people all get here.
I know what
Well,
you do. It's
your grandma
interesting.
Preston was born in Germany.
Yeah, can you shut this off a minute? I gotta
Sure.
move it.
So we're talking about,
Yeah, that's as much as I knew about grandma coming. We didn't go to the folks because they always lived here.
right,
As far as, you know, we all
Mhm.
lived here, my grandparents all
So-
lived here.
you didn't travel much at all.
We didn't travel much. We were very seldom. My Aunt Louise, my cousin Jack, we'd go down there in Detroit, in Lincoln Park,
Mhm.
and go to a ball game, you know, in
Oh.
the 40s.
Sure.
You know, we'd go down there and stay a week. They'd drive up. Jack and the other boy,
Yeah, what was his brother's name?
Richard Dick,
Richard.
when they, we'd go down there, Jerry and I did mostly, and stay darn near every summer for a week, and we'd always go to a ball game. But we could go right from Lincoln Park to Michigan, and we went right, took the bus right on Ford Street, right downtown Detroit, and you got off right there at the Gaiety, and which was a burlesque theater. But then we'd go right down that street, which must have been Trumbull or Michigan.
Mhm.
Then that's where the corner, the stadium
Big
was.
stadium.
But Ford Street was to the right of the stadium then, and then 75 become on the other side, when it was still Tiger Stadium.
Sure.
And we'd always go down and see them. They'd have, their dad
Were
would make
Jack and
sure.
Richard close in age to you two?
Jack's a little younger, and Richard's more my brother Bob's. He was younger yet, yeah.
So you had fun though. before
Oh,
the
yeah,
race.
we ran to it, yeah. So, yeah, we always went to the ball game together. The four of us would go down. Just take the bus. Nobody even had to take us. You could just take the bus. You just take the bus right down, like I say, and you get off right there where the end of the line
Mhm.
for the Lincoln Park deal. And you'd get off there, and you just walk right straight down two big city blocks. And then there was Michigan and Trumbull down there was where Tiger Stadium was.
Mhm.
So we didn't have far to.
Didn't have far to go.
Yeah, we went and seen a lot of good games.
You might also tell her about your other uncle that you were real close to and went fishing with when you were tiny and
Well, Uncle Frank, I always fish with him. He probably,
Frank Preston?
yeah, he is the one that probably was more, I got interested in fishing. He always come to our house.
Did
He
he live
went
here in
fishing.
Roscommon too?
He was, yeah, he lived here at one time, but
he was
he lived in
raised-
Flint, yeah.
Oh,
He ended up in Flint and worked at Chevrolet. He was a tool maker. And
They had a place.
then they had a place, they always come up here. They always had a place at the lake. And,
I was gonna ask you how much time you spent at Higgins Lake.
I
when you were
really
growing
not,
up.
we swam a lot, and we, as kids, we hitchhiked out to the cut and swim at the cut at the mouth
Oh,
of Higgins Lake, where all the, what the heck is it,
Surfside.
Surfside is now.
mhm.
But Mrs. Miller owned all that property, and
Mrs. Miller, who was she?
Myrtle Wright Miller, well, she's the one that, then when the estate, when she died, then the estate was sold, and then they made all that subdivision. She had a farm over there on Flint Road in Markey Township. And her dad had money in Sears and Roebuck or Montgomery Wards or somebody. I mean, she had a lot of, she had a lot
And
of
how
money.
did you know her then? How did your family know her?
We didn't.
Oh,
But that was,
just-
she
that
owned the
was
land,
just-
but she just left it like a park.
Oh,
Her dad and them owned the land, and she just left it. Everybody used it.
so it was kind of.
And there was 2 bathrooms on it even at one time, you know, then through the years they were deteriorated, but, yeah, no.
That was just where the town kids would go.
We just got, so we went to the cut, you know, we swim at the cut. If the current would go through, you know, they had them just stone dams like it was. And there was a big hole there. And there was an old bridge over at that time. When we first were going there, a wooden bridge was over it. They used to drive over it, but then through the years, they didn't. But we swim there. You could set up on the bridge.
So would you go and spend the whole afternoon?
Oh, so you'd go hitchhike out there, and maybe it'd be
Take a
kind
couple
of chilly
steps and come
and
back.
it'd be hot, and get out there and you'd swim for an hour and hitchhike back to town. By the time you get back to town, you were hot again.
Yeah, that's what Myrtle.
But we had swimming holes in the river too.
Oh, well, tell us
And,
about those.
They had one down in there, where Harry Myers lives, beyond the village. That was the main one in town. It was right at the end of that street, right at the end of St. Helens Street. And just a little kink there, and it's a clearing there, and that was the BAB.
And the house that sits there on the left now, his Uncle Lovell built.
He built all them houses Lovey did in there. He
Oh,
bought that land and then built the
Where
houses.
Hazel Dangler lives now?
Right, that was,
He lived
okay.
in that one himself.
He lived in every one of them.
Oh,
Lovey did at one time or another. And then he would sell them and build another one. The only really house on it was the little cabin up on the hill there, have you ever noticed?
oh, that little short cabin.
Right, that was
Darling.
Hirsch Campbell's.
Campbell's Canal.
Yeah,
Really?
that was Hirschbell's, that was his, Hershey bar we call him. And
That's the cutest little.
that was
cabin.
Hirsch's. Then there was no houses. That was the last house.
Okay.
Then where Harry Myers built that house, there was a little greenhouse in there at one time that Cederman owned it, Cederman. And owned it, next to Bob Myers' house, which is
Okay.
owned by Jim now. I don't know what,
Cornered from the village office.
Yeah.
on that first street,
With
the
the cedar
big old
shake
house,
shingles on the
yeah,
side.
that one, on the sides. Yeah, that
Is
was,
that someone that lives here just part-time?
one of the boys.
One of the boys bought it, be Dave Meyer's brother, Jim,
Oh.
and his wife.
Jim was a year younger than me. There was lots of kids in the family.
Big family.
Their dad was the janitor there at the school for years. You'd say janitor, but he was in charge of the maintenance and the furnace and everything.
What was his first name?
Bob Myers.
Oh, Bob Myers.
And we used to sneak into the school in the winter, like in vacations, like over Christmas, say, and we'd go into the gym and play basketball. And of course, he came every day and checked the furnace, probably twice a day or more,
Uh-huh.
even when it was
So
oil.
would he
you know.
kick you out if you found
No, he'd ask us how we got in there, and we'd lie and tell him some door was open or something, even if we went to a window or up to the roof or something to come down. And we wouldn't turn the lights on inside, see, in that
Right,
little
so no
gym.
one would know you were there.
Nobody can see outside, see, and it was
Yeah.
quite a ways from the road,
Sure.
back to that little gym that's in there.
I like that little gym.
And that's what I played in, but we'd play in that little gym, see, and he'd come in, how'd you guys get in here, he roared at us, but he never kicked us out. He'd let us stay. He'd say, don't you be smoking, none of you guys. We didn't, even the kids that did smoke, we never smoked in the shower or room or nothing. Like some kids might have, we knew enough not to do that, so we never lit no cigarettes in the,
Did you smoke when you were in high school?
yeah, I smoked.
Did you?
Everybody did that.
I smoked for about 40 years and I quit. But not everybody. My brother Jerry never smoked. Jerry never smoked, not in high school, not. Yeah, but he didn't inhale. He didn't. And he might have puffed out a cigar. That's not smoking. Yeah, but everybody didn't. Dean
Yeah.
McWilliams, I don't think did. There was some kids that didn't.
Tell me about the time House kicked you out of school.
Hounds kicked me out. I don't want him to knock this off here.
Oh, we can plug it in again if he does.
Well, I had went on the
What'd you
school
do?
grounds
What'd
from.
you do it?
I come over the hill going to school, at noon hour. And House, it was the first year he was here, and he did have a problem with our school. There was no doubt about it. And I stepped on the grounds, and maybe I must have been on the grounds, but not very far. And I threw my cigarette away and put it out.
Oh,
And
this stuff is big, isn't it?
lucky, get over here. Now sit down here. Anyway, but I looked up there was a sunken room there. It was the typing room, the business room. at that time. It's still there, and I looked up there in the window, and their house was giving me the old finger to come up, you know, the waved. Wanted, and I pointed at me, you know, I didn't know what he wanted. And
Little Mr. Perfect, you know.
so he called me up there, and he says, well, I got a report that you were smoking on the grounds. And I didn't, I wasn't, you know, I knew better. That was the first year he was there. And it must have been in 50, the fall of 50. And I said, no, I didn't smoke, you know. And then he says, well, at noon, I said, oh, I might have. And then I said, then I was honest. I said, oh, I might have walked on the grounds. It might have been close. I might have. And so he says, well, that means the yardsticks, he put, was it 3 or 5 yardsticks together, and they broke them over your ass till they were all broke. And, or you can go home, you know.
Leave some of this.
You're going to be expelled. So I said, yeah, he did that. And so I says, well, I'll see you. And I left. I went home, and my dad and Ma was both home. And they said, what are you doing here? You know, just after.
Back from lunch, so soon.
Yeah, just barely after lunch. I said, well, I just quit. I just got kicked out of school, I guess. My mother says, you did what? My dad, they were mad at me. The next day, she marched me right back. I never got the rulers, though. I never got them.
You're
But
lucky.
we went back, yeah. But she'd come back with me to the office, and we talked, and I got back on. No more smoking or nothing, but I didn't get the yardsticks.
Oh, you're a
So
lucky man.
I
Lucky
did,
boy.
oh boy, I got lucky there. And I ended up being a favorite of Mr. Houtz's. I mean, I got, like I said, he'd give me my day off the next year, a year later, 2 years. Give me the day off, which he wasn't a bad superintendent. I mean, I didn't blame him. He didn't do nothing wrong. He did the right thing. I was wrong.
Get a lot of cleaning up.
Right, yeah, the school had kinda got going where people were running wild,
You had to restore-
leaving the school during the
Restore a
day.
little order, huh?
Yeah, we had a lot of kids, and we were using even the old gym as we had to use that as a study hall. And so for the year or two before that, we'd go into there. This was before Houtz came. We'd go down through the basement and smoke down there, go outside and smoke. Because once we were smoking, and we ran up the stairs, and the superintendent was running down the stairs in this little hallway coming down to the basement. That was Engel then. And finally, when we got to the bottom, he realized we were the guys he was after. He yelled at us, and we had to go back down in the basement for smoking. We got hell that day.
Well, I should
But
think
then we were going out that door, and we'd go all the way uptown to a little restaurant and have coffee.
Yeah, let's talk about what businesses were in town when you were in high school.
Oh,
Let's see, that would have been what years?
Gotcha.
50?
yeah, 51 I graduated, in the late 40s and
Okay.
50s.
When you went downtown to a restaurant, which one was that?
Well, you'd go down to Brighton's, Brighton's in the later years become the spot for everybody to hang out. That was the Shell station. That was down next to, Kenny's now. A
Oh,
station
okay.
that's closed that Mike Pratt had.
Yeah.
That was Brighton's. Before that, it was, well, I forget who
That was
that-
different than the Chaps restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Chaps was,
Before
we
that.
grew up and we went to Chaps a lot. Then Eva
So
started.
Brighton's and Chaps were there at the same
Right,
time?
right beside each other practically.
Oh, okay.
And we went to Chaps, and we hung up. We'd go into Chaps, and Mr. Chap, they usually had a card game going. Nickel, dime, even the older kids, and then would play poker and stuff, and they played that. Mr. Chap was a good card player. They liked to play. Well, I guess you didn't have a lot to do, so.
We had Mel and Betty's Productions grocery store.
Yeah, and the grocery stores and there was Bomb's Cafe, but as kids, we usually, and of course the Asabo had a soda fountain in it too at that time, the Asabo drugstore. And then, of course, the Northern across the street, which was DeWales when I was going back before, and that was Patty's, you said, originally. And,
When it was next to Bombs,
yeah,
okay.
that ended up being Dwell's, and then it was, Daddy Greaves had it. And, well, remind me to ask, who lived in your house like when I was growing up? Who lived in that house?
Kylie's.
Kylie's, okay, okay. I knew I asked somebody the other day, and I can't think of who was living in that house. That would have been the Kylie, that would have lent the gun to my granddad.
Yeah,
The older one.
He didn't live there very long because he died and then
Right, but the women
then her
lived there.
sister moved in with her.
Right, there was two, yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that, and that's, okay,
Mrs. Blanchard had died in 37,
okay.
and they owned it for 20 years until Greaves bought it in 57.
Yeah, I remember Rick Greaves, they lived down in Overmeyer's house down there where the little gift shop is. There was a little house next door there. Greaves lived there at one
Sandbar
time.
Design is?
Yeah, right next to it, there was a little Overmeyer's had a house. And Richard lived there when he was probably, and the Greaves lived there at one time. I don't know where else they lived. And,
Well, I guess he was in college already when they bought.
the house,
The
yeah,
Blanchard
'cause it
house.
was later years. Because we had a basketball court out there, and Richard come out and played with us out there on that old barn that was in between the lots there. There was an old barn set back. And, we had a.
Behind the Blanchard house?
No,
Over
But-
on Fifth Street.
right, behind the Overmeyer,
Oh, okay.
behind Overmeyer's, behind the gift shop. That was a hardware, and then there was a barn behind it. It was, Rutledge's had a hardware in there, but it was Carlson's originally when I was a little guy.
In that same building?
Yeah,
you're
it was
talking
the same building, then Fritz Bertle took it over after all that. See, that was a gas station there, see, at one time. But Carlson had it as a hardware, and he died going home up the tracks. Just died, got a heart attack or something.
You're talking about on the corner where the Sandbar Design is?
Right, that
today?
building, yeah, that was a,
That was first Overmeyer's?
no, Overmeyer's had a house next door to that.
Oh,
There
okay.
was a little house in there. There was 2 or 3 houses in there.
Okay.
And even on the corner was a house. Shepherds lived in that years ago, when I was a kid. But Greaves was living in Overmeyer's house, because I can remember Overmeyer living there too.
Okay.
And then I remember Greaves living in it in later years, 5th grade, 6th grade, that, back in the 40s, at one time.
Yeah, I think Jack Shepherd talks about living in that area.
Jack lived on the corner in the big house that they moved back, now they tore that down too. Yeah, Jack lived there when I was a kid on the corner.
Okay.
His dad was Ed.
So tell me again who all was in the hardware store?
Well, the hardware first was Carlson's, and then Rutledge's was in it because theirs burnt down in the 40s. They had one in there where the Comfort Center is and all that in there, that whole block
On Lake
burnt.
Street, right.
And,
That's a comfort center.
Well, Bradley's.
Bradley's.
Where's that?
Isn't that the Comfort Center?
No,
Oh, I thought he called it that.
no.
Just
But-
calls it Bradley's.
Oh, okay, but anyway, in that whole,
So first it was Carlson's hardware?
that I can remember, yeah, Carlson's.
And then Rutledge?
Well, then Rutledge just used it until they built their new one.
Oh, so it was a short time.
Right, and then there was, then Jimmy Nibbs had a gas station. Fritz owned the station across the street, which is, I don't know what it is now.
BP.
Next to Chaps, yeah, the B&B.
BP.
Then he bought that across, and Jimmy Nibbs ended up running that one, but Jimmy had a station in there for a while on the other side.
Jimmy would be a brother to Laura Bertle.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Nibbs, she was a Nibbs. And, in later years. But then right behind that was a big barn that sat back behind, in between, and I don't know who owned the barn. But we had a basketball, my cousin Bill and Doug lived next to Mathis and Winnie's on the other side.
Oh, okay.
And then they had the basketball court on there, and Dean and all his kids, and we played on there. We had a court set up there, it was on that barn. A backboard, set up. And Richard lived in the Overmire. I remember him coming home, because he didn't play, he wasn't with the kids all the time. I mean, he didn't run loose like we did,
More supervision, they call
Yeah,
it.
oh, maybe. Yeah, Richard played on my basketball team though in high school when I graduated that year, and he never went out until that year, and he was a pretty good ball player.
Yeah, he's
We only
tall.
won one game, but, he did okay. That was his junior year then. It's been the first year I knew he even went out, which was unusual, but he made it. He started with me and the other kids, but, yeah. But I couldn't think who lived into it. I was trying to think the other day, and I knew somebody lived there that
Yeah,
I should know who.
Kylie's.
Yeah. Okay.
One
Well,
thing
what
I-
were we talking about?
Well, now I want to ask you about where you met Joan.
Oh. Well, Joan come down here.
Well, actually, I knew him as
Yeah, we
little
knew
kids.
each other as little kids.
Because our dads worked together at the
Yeah.
state highway.
Oh.
We
So
knew each
kinda
other.
knew each other. Our parents were very good friends, and they went back and forth. We
Oh,
lived in
okay.
Grayling, and they came
Get
up
over
there,
here,
and
Lucky.
my
Come over
parents.
here. Come here.
They didn't come up there a lot, because I don't think Eddie's folks had a car. Well, we always had a car, and so we came down here a lot.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of how I got to know him.
Uh-huh.
And then, when I was I 17? Yeah, I was 17. You didn't go to college back then, Carol, unless your parents had money. They didn't have scholarships and Pell Grants and tuition grants. Of course, we didn't, that was the furthest thing from my dad's mind, just sending me to college. So my aunt who lived here in Roscommon, she was married to Raymond Beck, who had the team of horses and did the sleigh rides for all the groups around town. So she came up to Grayling on the train one day. And I was kind of hanging around the house. I had a little job here, a little job there, but nothing much. She said, why don't you come down to Roscommon and go to work for the
Come on, you can
telephone
go.
company?
Come on.
I go, oh, okay, I was wanting to work, So I
For
come
which
down
company?
here. Telephone
Oh,
company.
telephone company, okay.
And so I came down and I lived with her until I could get the first paycheck to get a room. And I worked there. And then I moved in with Laura Wallace. She owned the big house by the village where Teddy Wallace lived. She rented out rooms.
Oh.
And Jimmy Nibs lived in one of them. And I lived in one of them. And old Scotty, he lives down at Whisper Ridge. He's
You
in a
probably don't know.
wheelchair. He's totally disabled. He lived in one of the rooms.
What's his real name?
What is Scotty's first name?
I can't even think of it. Elwin.
Elwin.
Ellen Scott?
Right. Well, then I had a girlfriend come down from Grayling, was working at the DNR. And she came up to my room and she said, oh, Joan, you can't live here. Well, I didn't think it was very good, but it was cheap,
Uh-huh.
$3 a week.
Sure.
Where could you find a room for $3? So I said, well, where else can I go? And she said, well, come on over where I live. She said, and Edith Barber rented out rooms. She had 3 nice big rooms upstairs. Of course, they were more money. She said, well, I'll give you this smaller room for, I think, $5 a week. So I moved in there with her, and Eddie just lived down the street.
That was pretty handy, wasn't it?
Andy.
Handy dandy.
So,
Well, that's how she come down here to work in the telephone.
Yeah. And where were you working at that point?
A&D.
Probably
You were
they-
still A&P.
Yeah.
Oh, you were still in high school? No.
No,
No,
I
we
was
were
out.
You were
Yeah, we
out
were
by
out.
I graduated when I was 16.
But I stayed working there. I stayed working at the A&P. And then, that one year I took a voluntary layoff. Was that the year? One year
Yeah.
I did. I took a voluntary layoff. I didn't think I was ever gonna stay there forever. but
Following winter, you took a voluntary layoff.
So I just drew unemployment and monkeyed around.
Went
I went
hunting and
back.
fishing.
Yeah.
Then did you work for A&P for a while?
Yeah. Yeah, we,
And then after we got married, it was real convenient because where Graphic Arts Press is was the A&P. The telephone company was where Gavin's is.
Yeah.
So after we got married, there was always a car there because I worked screwy shifts. And there was always a car there, cause he'd be there working.
Yeah, we had a car, we only had one car, and if we lived in that little house at Frosty's too, after we got married.
Well, we lived here first.
Yeah, we lived here, but,
This house was rented to us by George Guest's sister. He was a principal at the elementary school. And there was people living in here that my mother-in-law knew. Ironically, it was a girl from Grayling. Well, I knew too, but I didn't know she lived here. And so Helen talked to him, and they were moving out, going back to Texas, and, cause he was from Texas, and so we got to rent the house. And then, that was in 53. In 56, she sold the house. And so we moved out past the theater
on Main Street.
on North Main. We lived there, and Beverly Wyckoff, Bovan now, was a good friend of mine. And she said, well, how much do you pay here? And I said, $55 a month. She said, oh, that's terrible. She said, my folks had that little house right behind their big house,
Right across from where I grew up.
where Lee Lyons live now.
Yeah.
She said, they'd rent that to you for 40. And I said, hallelujah, let's go. So we packed up and we moved down there. Well, we always did our business at the Roscommon State Bank, and so one day I was in there, and Gloria Matthews, who was a teller, she called me over and she said, you know, I got some people who want to make an investment by buying a house for somebody. Would you be interested? And I said, well, yeah, you know, renting isn't really too good. So these people from Higgins Lake bought the house, and then we paid them back. We paid $6,000 for it.
So this house was for sale at that time, or you
Well,
made an
after,
offer?
it was after the people that moved into it,
We're an older couple.
and they come up here and their daughter lived here, and the husband, and then he got transferred, so here they were, they sold their home where they
In the
came from,
winter, and they were
and moved up
old and-
here, and didn't know nobody, retired, see, that was crazy. They should've never sold, they come from the Thumb area or somewhere in that area, Vassar or something. So they ended up selling it, and then we bought it from them.
Oh, that worked out.
They had added the garage on, and this was,
That is now a bedroom. It
well,
was
that was a breezeway that went in to the,
garage.
it wasn't finished, the breezeway wasn't finished or nothing, the garage. So, we bought it and refinished it, and when we added this room on, then we just eliminated made that into a bedroom.
I know what I wanna ask the two of you about. We're gonna come to an end here pretty soon.
Okay.
Did you go to the music box when you were teenagers?
Yes, I did once.
Only once? Okay, so it
It was
wasn't,
just getting probably
it wasn't a
popular.
regular thing then that you did?
Yeah, it was after that when it really got going. It was,
Did you have dances at your school?
I wasn't really into much on the dancing. I didn't go to
was.
many.
Did they
Joni
have them,
was,
though?
but I
I
didn't.
was.
Yeah.
Did your high
We
school
had the
have them?
class dances and the proms and all that. You had them in your junior prom, and you had dances, different grades had dances all winter.
Oh, okay,
You
so
know,
it was a
off
regular
season.
thing?
Yeah,
like
they
after
had
the
a different
basketball
time.
games,
Well,
that
they
kind
were
of stuff?
usually separate. No, we didn't
Oh,
have them after.
okay.
We had them on a different nights. Usually maybe it was be in this time, like right now, when there was no baseball and no
Yeah.
basketball, was that ended, then you'd have some dances. Some
When I
Cindy
went-
Hawkins or whatever you call them, dances and.
Sure.
When I went, the only time I went to the music box is when the Charleston came back.
Oh.
And everybody
Yeah.
there did the Charleston. I remember doing the Charleston,
Oh,
you
I bet
know.
you were good, Joni.
Oh, I was.
No, I didn't go. And when they first started the music box, the first few times we went by it, we went to Home Lake a lot. You know, just to the drive-ins, restaurants, and monkeyed around the roller rinks. And they had just a slab. It was just a slab of cement. And they had some of them, I always called them Chinese lights up. You know,
Lantern.
the
Lanterns,
round
Japanese lanterns.
Japanese, okay, Chinese or whatever, Asian. And that's all it was. There was no roofs or nothing. It was just like a tennis court. You know, that's how it started. Then it got to be real big. But I don't know what years it got real big, in the 60s or before the kids
Late
turned,
50s. 50s and late
When Jerry Lynn and their classes turned, they could drink at 18, the music box went, that was it.
No, that was terrible.
Yeah.
When they changed that law, whatever year that was, that
It
was
was
when.
1974 when they could drink at the age,
Right,
because that's when she graduated.
So for 20 years there, that music box was probably 20 years there, 54 in the 50s.
It went pretty good, yeah.
It went good. It was tremendous. Everybody, did you go to it?
Yes, when I was in college, I went to.
People
Oh.
came from all over.
But
Oh,
they
I
went
would
from,
love to.
everybody in the state darn near knew where the
Oh,
music
yeah.
box went.
I think, Carol, you're a lot younger than we are.
Not much. Just, not much, just 2 years.
But, yeah, that,
Well, is there anything else from your heritage that you think we should know? We can always do addendums.
well, like you say about we talked about the theater, there wasn't, when I was younger, there was no theater in town, like we were on that subject.
Yeah.
We seen that all, we'd have to go to Grayling, because I remember, the show I remember seeing most in Grayling was Going Up. I don't think it was Gone with the Wind. We might have went and seen that up there too. But the originals, you know, it was Northwest Territory.
Oh, yeah. I remember
That was
too.
in black,
Me too.
red Technicolor, and it was the
Oh.
Canadian Mounted Police, remember that?
Yeah.
And that was, that always stuck to my mind, and that was like a 5-hour movie or something. You know, that, the full movie was.
Did you go like in a car full of people, or how'd you get there?
Well, it must have been to my folks, or somebody took us up to it, I can't remember. Maybe they were going somewhere and the show was on, and maybe there was, I can't remember.
Did
But
you ever jump the train?
Well, we did, yeah, a couple of times I rode the train. Mostly coming back. We'd hitchhike a lot.
Oh, did you?
As kids, we hitchhiked all over the
Yeah, well,
lake,
that
you
was
know, up
great.
to the lake and up to Grayling and back. And like I say, we caught the train and come back. And my cousin caught it once, and it come to Roscommon, and it picked up speed. It never stopped. It went all,
What cousin?
Bill Mead. It
Bill.
went all the way, Bill and somebody else was on it. All they could do was wave at people when they went by. It went to West Branch.
Oh.
He got to West Branch, and then they have to call, he called his mother up. I don't know how they got back home, somebody went and got them or what,
Oh.
but they went right through Roscommon. I wasn't with them that day. But Bill and I was, we jumped it a couple times and rode it back.
That had to be
We
fun.
got in once, a
That
whole
sounded
bunch of
fun.
us kids
Yeah,
got
yeah.
into it.
But you didn't have anything back then, but nobody did.
For sure. You
There
didn't
was
know that-
one kid in my class that had a car.
Mm-hmm.
One kid, and he built it himself. Have an old junker, you know, he just.
Well, we didn't,
Well, I think that people were contented. You know,
yeah,
you-
I
you
never
had-
really was,
You
of
didn't
course,
know-
we
you
didn't
know
have a
any-
car in
you
the
didn't know any
family.
better.
So
Well,
we
you-
didn't go anywhere. If we went somewhere, you know,
You went with your lane.
yeah, we went to the lake a lot. They had cars up there. We didn't, we hitchhiked as kids. We went all over heck, you know. Sometimes we rode our bike out to the lake.
The other thing we didn't ask about yet was how much berry picking you did.
Well, I didn't do a lot, but we did do
Didn't
some
you?
of that, and we used to pick the arbutuses and sell them.
Oh.
And you just stand along the side of the road with a big bouquet, and you buy the ferns. You'd get the bouquet about this big,
Oh,
and that would be near Mother's Day, it seems to me. It
Oh,
would be
yeah, well,
close.
here they are, they're just wonderful.
And we would, you put the ferns around them,
Mhm.
just the ferns you pick, you know, the little short green ferns, you put that all around the thing. You wrap them around with string, like kite string, you know, cut them off even. And you put them in, like a Campbell's soup can. So you had them in water, you know, and you'd stand alongside the road and just hold them up, and they'd stop and buy them, people, like 50 cents a bouquet,
Sure.
or whatever we
Oh,
got.
wonderful.
I remember selling flowers
Huh.
like that. Usually the berries, I didn't sell. We just got enough for,
Your mother made pies?
yeah,
and
they
stuff?
made pies.
Did your mother can a lot of things?
And one time she did, years and years ago, she used to always can tomatoes and peaches and that, more or less. Not as much on the blueberries. It was more like that in the fall. You'd get, they'd come around and sell peaches and pears. Of course, nobody hardly liked pears as well as peaches. It was usually peaches.
And tomatoes.
They'd buy them and tomatoes. That's what they canned mostly. And the pork, like I said, but it was, I think, venison.
Well, we're coming to an end here, so I wanna thank you for your
Yeah.
time and all this good information about Roscommon in the forties mostly. Most of what you
Oh,
remember,
yeah,
and-
forties,
and
it would
from
probably
your-
be mostly in the forties.
And what your folks did prior to
Right,
that.
yeah.
Well, it's nice to talk to people that are real natives. This is a
Mhm, it's
real
unusual.
Roscommon
Yeah.
family. Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's unusual.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so-
when you say, yeah, I was born here.
Well, and that so many of you are still here.
Yeah,
Now, your kids,
and my kids are gone.
and the next generations, not many stayed, did they?
No, my oldest daughter lived in Grayling for a long while.
Jerry have children that stayed here? Did Jerry have children?
Yeah, Marty lives out in, he's out here by the golf course. He lives here. Macy's living out here by the other golf course.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah. Jimmy's gone and John's gone. Jimmy lives over by, he married an Indian girl, so he's over there at, which one is it?
Sutton Bay.
Sutton Bay.
Oh.
She's a official there with the tribe. She
Mhm.
does a good
Tribe
job.
manager.
Oh.
Beautiful
The
girl.
Shelby Town, huh?
Yeah, we went over there and had, they took us to dinner one day when my sister was here. When my brother died, we went over. We were always supposed to go to Jimmy's and see his house. If you're ever
Way
over
up
there,
on
his
the-
house
That's
is,
Jerry's son.
right, his
That's
older
where Jerry
son.
died
He was over there
What
working.
children did Jerry have?
for.
They had a set of twins and Jimmy and
That's
John.
where he died. He was
Yeah, he was at
wiring-
Jim's.
Was wiring Jimmy's garage.
And they was, yeah, he went to the Traverse City, you know, that's where they took him, 911, but it was too late. Yeah,
So how many grandchildren were there in the Murphys?
We have trouble
Big
keeping track of
problem.
ours.
Do you?
yeah.
We have one great grandchild.